February is the month of love, I guess. And in celebration of the most romantic holiday, Valentine's Day, I thought I would invite some Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire enthusiasts to share briefly about a character that, because of love, was absolutely destroyed. I originally invited 5 people, but the 5th person never gave me their video, so that's why there's only 4 responses in this video. So 5th person, shame on you. Shame.
Hey everyone, Aziz from History of Westeros here. Thanks to Rawers for having me on for this Valentine's Day special. Love stories are something we're all familiar with. It's one of the most common elements to be found regardless of genre. Horror, fantasy, sci-fi, drama, there's always love stories. One of the reasons it's so common is that as humans, we've all been there. We all have some inkling of what love is. Unlike other things we read about in A Song of Ice and Fire or watch on Game of Thrones that we have no real connection to in real life, like Trials by Combat or 700-Foot Walls of Ice or Shadow Babies. You might say that love itself is common. So for an example of love, I chose the most common point of view of all, Pate, a commoner with a common love story, right? Wrong. This is George R. R. Martin we're talking about, and he wouldn't take a standard element like love and not make some major changes. Tropes will be inverted. There are aspects to Pate's story that do qualify as common, to be fair, but not nearly all. Allow me to explain. In a lot of ways, Pate is cast as kind of a loser, but in a lot of ways, to me, he's some kind of champion. This is a guy who really keeps his eye on the prize. He doesn't lose focus. He's surrounded by talk of dragons, of sphinxes, glass candles, Marwyn the Mage, secrets of the Citadel that few have access to, but he does. But it doesn't matter to him. All he thinks about is Rosie. Another familiar trope is the ordinary character thrust into an extraordinary setting type story, only to become a hero, like Alice in Wonderland or Back to the Future. George, fully aware of this trope, took it and borrowed it and used it in a lot of ways. He even told us that Pate is a name shared by a folk tale hero in Westeros. Children all over Westeros grew up with tales of this Pate, the commoner hero. Our Pate, in this point of view, is named for this hero. But in those stories, love wins out, love is pure, love conquers all, good triumphs over evil, the guy and the girl fall in love, that's the end. Our Pate, however, well, it's not quite the same thing, is it? I don't think we can call a saving up money to buy virginity a fair parallel to the tale of falling in love. It certainly isn't heroic, and he doesn't even really get that far. He doesn't do the saving or the buying, so we're really far afield from the common real-world version or the common in-world version of Pate the hero. No defeating monsters or getting the girl this time. Our Pate, again, doesn't beat anyone or anything, and there's no heroism. Actually, there's the opposite. He steals from an old man. And of course, he doesn't get the girl. She introduces him to a man who kills him and steals his identity. That's a bit worse than Biff coming for Marty McFly, no? So the lesson is, don't be like Pate, and be careful who you love in Westeros. You might wind up with a face-changing assassin from a death cult coming for you. Aziz from History of Westeros. Thanks again. See you later.
Love is poison, a sweet poison, yes, but it will kill you all the same. George R. Martin's views on romantic love and how it relates to a character's arc are cynical in a lot of cases, which is the case with Robb Stark. Robb wanted to save his family, his father, his 2 sisters, but somewhere along the way, he got distracted. Robb needed Walder Frey's support to enable his crossing, and in return, Robb had one job: marry a Frey girl, whoever he chooses, but marry her to seal the alliance. But then Robb fell in love, and despite of all of Catelyn's warnings about Walder Frey not being a very forgiving man, Robb still married for love. In the books, it was Jane Westerling, and on the show, you might know her as Talisa. Lord Frey was not appeased at all by Lord Edmure's hand in marriage, that he married one of his daughters, so Lord Frey conspired and succeeded in killing Robb, Robb's wife, Robb's mother Catelyn, and lots of Stark bannermen. Also Grey Wind, Robb's direwolf, and all of Robb's expectations just died in the Red Wedding. So the question here to ask is, had Robb not followed his heart and married Jane or Talisa, could he have been successful in the war against the Lannisters? Could he save his sisters just through winning the war and bring his sisters home safely? It could be, it could very well be, but that would be a much more boring book plot for us. But you do have to wonder. Robb has very, very good strategic skills. He's very good in a battlefield, and he had a few winning streaks. Wouldn't it have been such a great triumph if a king married a commoner like in the fairy tales and they all lived happily ever after? But in the Game of Thrones, there is no happily ever after. In the words of Maester Aemon, love is the bane of honor, the death of duty. We're only human, and the gods have fashioned us for love. That is our great glory and our great tragedy. Robb's love for Jane, or Talisa on the show, destroyed his goal, his life, his future heirs. I often wonder if Robb could have just married a Frey girl and have Jane or Talisa on the side. It's not uncommon, especially for kings, to have like mistresses. Love made Robb go back on his word as a king, and that had some very bad consequences, aka the Red Wedding. So is it always good to follow your heart? We have to look at each case individually, and with Robb Stark, following your heart is a fatal mistake. I bet you feel good if you're single right now. So, all that being said, I have to point out the potential Jon Snow parentage, Rhaegar and Lyanna. Lyanna went back on her word to marry King Robert, and she went with Rhaegar. The result of that is Jon Snow, if you believe this theory, which I do, and if Jon Snow gets to save all of humanity because he will lead the fight against the White Walkers and ultimately defeat them or have an agreement with them, but Jon Snow is key here. So if the result of love is the savior of humankind, can we really say that always following your heart is bad? I don't think so, but the story isn't complete. I can't wait to see what will happen. Thank you, Rawrist, for having me here. I always love hearing you, and Tony and Aziz. Take care, everyone.
What's up, everybody? Sir LT Giles here, and on a special day as today, I would like to talk about fatal love, and today's subject, Liza Tully, soon to be Liza Arryn. As a girl, Liza, she took a liking to a young boy named Peter Baelish, soon to be Littlefinger. Well, she had her eyes set on him for the longest, and then what happens? Catelyn steals the shine from her. Her older sister Catelyn, Littlefinger just can't take his eyes off her. And Liza just, I can't have it, it's not mine. Catelyn's taking everything. And then, so let's skip forward to some years when they become teenagers. Finally, Catelyn gets betrothed to Brandon Stark. And here's Liza's window. Littlefinger all to herself. But no, Littlefinger still has his eye on Catelyn. And this just enrages Liza, and she's just pissed off for time. So let's fast forward again. Let's fast forward to when she's Lady Arryn of the Vale. Her husband dies. You know, it's time. Littlefinger comes back to the Vale. And what happens? Littlefinger is hers. She's finally got Littlefinger. He's her dude. They're about to get married. They do get married. She has everything she wants, but what happens? Catelyn Reborn gets in the way. And Sansa Stark is Elaine at the time, but she's in her way, and Liza's just enraged again. She's really seeing stuff that she thinks she sees, and it's really not there. And Littlefinger basically is hers, but she sees a little innocent kiss. Mind you, Littlefinger does cheat on her, but that's besides the point. She's got him. So she gets crazy and crazy, wants him so bad. You know, she doesn't believe she has him, and she wants him to the fullest. But she believes she doesn't have him. So finally, she catches them alone in the throne room. I'm sorry, the room, the moon door room, and she grabs Sansa by the hair, questions her, and what happens? Her untimely lover flings her out the moon door, and it's all over, children. Moral of the story, kids, is do not fall in love. No, that's not it. Don't fall in love. Just when you feel you've got somebody, trust them and love them, and don't go out like Liza, which she had it all, and she just lost it and went out the moon door, and But anyways, children, that's the subject of today, Liza Tully. And I want to say thank you to Walrus for allowing me to be in on this great thing. And Cyril T. Giles out.
Hey, this is Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat from the Hypes Watch. And the fatal love character I want to talk about is maybe my favorite character in all of George R. R. Martin's Westerosi world that he's created. And that is Aegon V, also known as Aegon the Unlikely. And I know what you're asking. It's the same thing Tina Turner's been asking us all. Egg died in a fire? What's love got to do with it? Well, let me explain. No, there's too much. Let me summarize. Basically, instead of marrying one of his sisters, when Egg entered his 20s, he met a girl named Beth Blackwood. And, they got to knowing each other, falling in love, yada, yada, yada. We all know this common tale. And by all accounts, she was lovely, strong, and they went on to marry and have 5 kids and a loving marriage and family. So you ask, where's the problem in that? Well, it's your kids, Egg. Something's got to be done about your kids, specifically in the order of their birth. Duncan the Small, Jaehaerys II, Shara, and Darren. See, Egg and his kids were given a relatively high level of freedom because no one was really expecting much from a fourth son of a fourth son. However, due to a series of many deaths over a 15-year period, we find Egg as, the new king of Westeros. And Egg, well, he was a man of the people. He was the Rock, the people's champion. And that didn't sit too well with all these high lords who saw Egg as someone threatening to take away their evil, noble birthrights in favor of equality. Imagine that. And in order to accomplish his goals, for equality, he needed these high lords on his side, to change the policies he needed to change. And to get these high lords on his side, he used his children to secure loyalty and alliances through betrothals, which in this world setting is par for the course. Duncan the Small was betrothed to the daughter of Lionel Baratheon, yes, that badass that helped defend Sir Duncan the Tall and the Hedge Knight. Jaehaerys II was betrothed to Celia Tully. Shara was, Shara? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Was betrothed to Luther Tyrell, and Darren was betrothed to Orlena Tyrell. Yes, back before she was the Queen of Thorns, and when she was just a Bret Michaels Poison song. And things were going just swell until Duncan the Small fell in love with Jenny of Oldstones and decided to break his betrayal. And because Egg was allowed to marry for love, he couldn't really deny any of his children the same right and allowed Dunk to marry Jenny of Oldstones on the condition that he renounced his spot for the throne, and resulting in Lionel Baratheon attempting to secede from the Targaryen rule, forcing Egg to use another one of his children, Rael, as a bargaining chip by betrothing her to Lionel's son, along with a little bit of an ass-kicking that Duncan the Tall gave to Lionel, just to calm the situation down and get things back to status quo. And then after that, following Duncan's footsteps, Jaehaerys and Rhaenyra both broke their betrothals for each other and ended up marrying each other. Then finally, Daeron gave into his desires of being, solely in the company of men. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it did result in the falling apart of his betrothal to Olenna. So Duncan went from having alliances with the Baratheons, the Tullys, the Tyrells, to back to his uncool self with the High Lords. And without any children left to bargain with, Aeg felt that the only way to get these nobles to see things the way he did, that equality thing he was trying to do, to better the realm, was to have dragons. And that desire to bring back dragons is what led him to Summerhall, where he, his wife, his son Duncan the Small, along with several others, perished in wildfire, all of which could have been avoided had Aeg and his children just, married for duty and not for love. So I guess the lesson here is, in this world, love is a losing game. Love can be a shame. Married for duty, like how Ned and Catelyn did. You're still going to die, but, at least will be for other reasons. So, the Quentin did get burned for trying to marry for duty. Damn that, Martin. I don't know anymore. Raris, what say you?
So thank you Aziz, Bars, Giles, and Jerry for sharing the dangers of love with us all. I'll be doing future holiday videos, and I've decided to be more inclusive as I've been on YouTube longer. So if you have a Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire channel, or you're thinking about starting one, please contact me to be in a future special holiday video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe, and warn others about the dangers of love.